up guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel once again. My name is Dash Lifestyle. Kindly for watching me for the first time, remember to subscribe, like, share and also comment. To my returning subscriber, thank you so much for always coming back and watching my video. Thank you so much for the love and support. So guys, in today's video I want us to listen to this powerful speech from the president of Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traore. He has come out and sent a warning message to the Caribbean leaders, to Jamaican Prime Minister, and also he has sent this warning message to all African puppet leader. So kindly guys, watch this video, then I'll be back with more comments.
Bonjour à tous.
Hello everyone. I would like to welcome all the young people from the 13 regions who are in the room and those who have not been able to access the room. To all the young people from Africa, to accompany the youth, welcome to the land of integral men. I would like to pay a vibrant tribute to our strong security and defense forces who fight day and night for Burkina Faso to be and remain beautiful. I would like us to take a minute to pray for those who are on the ground and also for the rest of the souls of those who have fallen for our country. Thank you. Thank you. Let us give thanks to God for allowing us to be here today to celebrate the International Youth Day in good health. I say this very often because human beings often forget God when they have no problem, when they are in happiness. But when worries come, this is when we remember God. Give thanks every day for the breath of life and for health. Youth from Burkina Faso, youth from Africa, youth, this phase of life where we have enough strength, enough energy, like the paraphrase, the slammer that has just passed. Youth is the time when we have spent enough time. We must take advantage of the time we have been given, use the energy necessary to reach our goals, to change the world, to change our world, to change the world of others positively. Children want to grow up to be young. Older people want to grow up to be young. Everyone wants to be young. Youth is a blessing. So take advantage of youth to do useful work. This is why when I see in the chosen theme the first two words that come to mind, integration, security. Africa faces many challenges, and we must ask ourselves questions. Is youth an asset or a handicap for the development of nations? The answer is simple and unequivocal, and you know it. Developed countries mostly have an aging population, and currently many countries have launched programs to rejuvenate their populations. Africa has this chance to have a very young population. But why is Africa not developed? We must therefore look at the question of why Africa has a young population and why it is not developed, and why developed countries seek to rejuvenate their populations. We must transform our youth into a real asset and engine of development for our continent. To do this, we need integration. We need security and development. We need to unite.
Certes, vous entendrez parler de
You will hear about the African Union.
Oui, elle existe. Mais quel
Yes, it
est
exists,
l'Union africaine?
but what is the effect of the African Union?
Nous ne pourrons pas parler d'intégration dans le thème.
We
de
cannot
ne
talk
pas parler
about
de l'Union
integration
africaine.
and not talk about the
Parce que
African
c'est
Union,
cette organisation qui devrait nous unir.
because it is this organization that should unite us,
Mais nous sommes au
create
regret
real
de
integration.
voir ces guerres qui persistent sur le continent africain.
But we regret to see this war that persists on the African continent, that kills millions of young people,
Et à la tête d'États pourvus d'armées.
and that this organization, which has the head of state provided with an army, cannot organize itself to support certain countries.
L'union n'est pas juste un mot.
The union is not just a word, the union is a symbol.
Et nous jeunes devrions apprendre le
And we
sens
young
de cette
people should learn from this
situation
situation
pour faire de l'intégration une réalité.
to unite us to make
J'ai été
integration a reality.
désagréablement surpris lorsque l'Éthiopie, qui abrite donc
I was unpleasantly surprised when Ethiopia, which is the seat of the African Union,
et quand j'ai vu le Premier ministre se mettre en treillis,
experienced a conflict, and when the Prime Minister announced to close the university in Addis Ababa to face the threat,
l'action de l'Union africaine.
I did not see the action of the African Union to
Les
protect this
États
seat.
occidentaux, pour la plupart, voyaient Addis
Western
Ababa
states, for the most part, saw Addis Ababa fall, fold their backpacks, and leave.
L'Éthiopie s'est battue, a trouvé une solution
Ethiopia
interne.
fought, found an internal solution, and lives more or less in peace today.
Les enfants du Congo meurent.
The children of Congo have been dying for years.
Plusieurs autres conflits, tels au Soudan.
Several other conflicts, such as in Sudan, exist on the continent.
Nous aurions aimé voir l'Union africaine générer
We
la
would have
force
liked to see the African Union generate the strength and all the strategies necessary to support its states so that they can find peace.
Nous ne viendrons même pas parler de nous ici au Sahel.
We will not even talk about us here in the
Depuis
Sahel.
près de 10 ans,
For nearly 10 years, the Sahel has been the scene of international terrorism.
mais nous ne voyons aucun soutien.
But we see no support from these organizations to find a solution to this problem.
Pire, il y a quelques jours de cela, un pays
Worse, a few
étranger
days
à
ago, a foreign country in Africa openly announced that it had supported and participated
soutenu et participé à une attaque lâche
in a cowardly, terrorist, and barbaric attack against the forces of our confederation.
L'Union africaine n'a pipé aucun mot pour condamner.
The African Union did not say a word to condemn this interference.
L'Union africaine n'a
The
pipé
African
aucun
Union
mot
did
pour
not say a
condamner
word to
cette
condemn this
ingérence
interference
extérieure à la
of a foreign state in Africa in the internal affairs of our states.
de nos États. Et ce coup de gueule, je souhaiterais qu'ils
I would like them to hear this shout
qu'ils sortent donc de leur silence
and get out of their silence and take action so that the youth can believe in the African Union.
Il nous faut nous unir. Il nous faut nous unir. Et
We
la
must
seule manière de
unite.
s'unir,
The only way to unite is to talk to each other, to understand each other, and to be able to establish the basis of this unity.
unité-là. Et jeunes, laissez-moi vous dire que pour s'unir,
Young people, let me tell you that to unite, there are three words, three big screws that we must ban from our behavior and our lives.
je parle de la lâcheté, la traîtrise,
I am talking about cowardice, treachery, and incompetence.
il faut bannir.
We must ban these three words from our way of life.
De notre mode de vie.
I am going
Je
to
vais
explain
vous
why.
expliquer pourquoi. La lâcheté recouvre beaucoup de vices.
Cowardice covers many
Lâche
screws.
a toujours peur. Et lorsqu'on a peur,
A coward is always afraid. And when we are afraid, we become slaves. We bend. We lick our boots.
nos ancêtres n'ont
Our
pas été lâches.
ancestors were not cowardly.
Et si nous sommes lâches, nos enfants vont nous...
And if we are cowardly, our children will ask us
Imaginez qu'au
questions.
Burkina, nous refusions de nous battre. Et nous acceptons de nous...
Imagine that in Burkina Faso, we refuse to fight and we accept to submit, to live in
Ils se
slavery.
poseront des questions. Nos parents ont-ils été des lâches
Tomorrow our children will grow up and they will ask themselves questions. Have our parents been cowardly to leave us in slavery? Whether we are alive or dead, we will feel it. Cowardice is afraid, and the imperialists have understood that they are trying to scare the leaders so that they become cowards. Because when you are a coward, all the other screws can be born. We do everything so that we are afraid. They come to our palaces. They threaten us directly or with veiled threats. Of course, we respond as it is necessary. They try to make us understand. They take examples every time. They tell us, you know, Thomas Sankara tried to do this, but he is dead. President Haitian tried to do this, but he is dead. Gaddafi tried to do this, but he is dead. These are words that we take in a veiled way to scare us. And we often see some young people trying to take our path in a different way. We can hear them say, such and such person ruled like this, he is in his country. Such and such person ruled like this, he is in prison. All this to try to scare us so that we become cowards. But I think they didn't understand one thing. When we say country or death, we win. It's not just a sentence. It's not just a sentence. It all makes sense. We are not afraid and we will never be afraid.
Ils ont fait peur sûrement à beaucoup de chefs d'État africains.
They probably scared a lot of African heads of state. They probably scared a lot of African heads of state. You see, often when we express ourselves or when we have the opportunity to be in certain situations abroad, we often say something to call on African heads of state to wake up and take care of our youth so that we can start our real development. So that we can start our real development. We are often misunderstood. Some have publicly opposed us. Some have publicly opposed us because they feel indexed. But I can assure you, youth, that when we find ourselves in the corridors, these same heads of state tell us that we are on the right track and that this is what needs to be done so that Africa can rise again. So we ask them questions like, why don't you do like us? Why don't you support us? Some tell us that they have the means, and some tell us that they can't. Dear elders, African heads of state, at the end of this podium, I would like to say that African peoples are the most peaceful. That African peoples are the most peaceful. When you recognize a wrong, you have to tell the people. When you recognize a wrong, you have to tell the people. We are not afraid to come out and tell the people we are sorry. We have been compromised. We have been mistreated, we have been compromised by several things, and we ask for forgiveness, and we come back on the right path and to start working really for the independence of our states and our emancipation. And I think it is possible. If we remain in this posture of fear, we will be cowardly and history will judge us. Our children will ask questions, our grandchildren will ask questions. We are writing history. There is no place for cowardice. If our ancestors had been cowardly, we would not be here. Do you remember? I will give you an example of the people of Bamileke and Bassa. I want to talk about the Cameroonians, the union of the population of Cameroon, which since the 1950s has started a relentless fight against the Poles, but they have been massacred. The French colonial armies, in turn, have dispatched infantry battalions, tanks, Tanks, helicopters have annihilated anti-village. The most inhuman tortures have taken place during this period. You can do research on what they called the cart or the bakasima. Hundreds of thousands of people have been decimated in Africa because they dared to ask their settlers to leave their land. A civil war that lasted several years. That is to say that people dared to face the imperialists with their bare hands so that we could be here. There is no reason why we cannot face the imperialists so that our future generations can live. There are many examples throughout Africa of brave men who refused to be cowardly, who fought, who faced. Well, let us be worthy of these people. We are their descendants, and let us be worthy of them. A coward cannot be worthy. Let us not be cowards, young Africans, because a coward is always a traitor. And it goes hand in hand. They will try to frighten us so that we become cowards. And if we are cowards, we will betray. We must ban the treachery of our habits. Africans have been traitors so that the slave trade succeeds in Africa. It is because Africans have been traitors that colonization has been able to sustain in Africa. Let us question history. We will see. Lumumba, Patrice Lumumba, was betrayed because he dared to hold his head. And these same beautiful televisions came to the Congo for a few bids extended to individuals in the Congo for an interview to please their population. And you were able to follow that. Lumumba bothered us. He is dead. We are happy. It is treachery. Many other heroes have fallen so that we are here today. And it is a technique of imperialism to frighten others by taking action to really create terror. It has not started today. I will give you the example of a warrior who fought, Victor Biakaboda. Read it and you will understand. He came from a family of chiefs. No chiefdom given by the colonizer. He was a worthy child. He studied in Senegal, I believe. He became a doctor in Guinea. And when the RDA was created, he went to the Ivory Coast region to fight against imperialists, against invaders, against the colonizer. He tried to organize the Ivorian society. Everywhere, people began to speak up. There was a general in his time, Pichu, who massacred the Ivorian population so that this spirit of freedom could never germinate. He continued his fight alongside Mpesa Lix Ufeboigny. They fought. But the most violent was Victor Biakaboda. He represented a threat to the imperialists. What did he do? In addition to massacring the people who demonstrated, one night they killed him in an atrocious way next to Bois-Flancy. A few hours later, when the people of Dimbakro heard the murder, they marched, they demonstrated. They were massacred by the colonial army. History was killed. The facts are there. After his death, which scared FOC Lix Ufeboigny, they called him and told him, if you continue the fight, you will meet the same fate. He was afraid and he joined imperialism. He was appointed minister in France and later he came to take the reins of the Ivorian Accord. They used him to eliminate many other people who dared to raise their voices. I think Thomas Sankara is a good example.
Si vous avez
If
peur,
you are afraid, you will be cowardly and you will be a traitor.
n'ayez jamais peur.
Never be afraid.
La lutte
The fight
doit
must
continuer.
continue.
Il y a beaucoup d'autres exemples à travers le
There are
monde.
many other examples around the world.
Il y a ce phénomène qu'ils ont aussi utilisé depuis.
And there is this phenomenon that they have also used for a long time and that they continue to use.
Certains individus, par exemple, se sont retrouvés dans d'autres pays.
You see, some individuals, for example, have found themselves in other countries
Au gouvernement du Mali. Vous avez entendu cette histoire
and created a so-called parallel government to the Malian government.
qui a existé dans le temps. Je vais vous prendre l'exemple.
You have heard this story. It is a technique that has existed for a long time.
Ce professeur de mathématiques qui a
I will give you the example of Ahmed Chalabi,
a été recruté
Iraq. This math teacher, who was even in the Iraqi government, was recaptured by the imperialists, and he formed this semblance of parallel government in Iraq,
et
in the
on l'a
United
utilisé
States.
pour être donc le mouton de sacrifice. Parce que c'est à lui
And he
qu'on
was
a dit,
used to be the sheep of
prononcer
sacrifice,
publiquement que Saddam Hussein développait des armes de destruction massive.
because it was to him that it was said that Saddam Hussein was developing weapons of mass destruction,
Et cet alibi
and
a
he
été
did it.
utilisé pour tuer des millions d'enfants en Irak et détruire l'Irak.
They used him. And this Talibi was used to kill millions of children in Iraq
Un soir,
and destroy
après
Iraq.
une interview, dans l'interview, il disait même que il sait que la
And do you know what was the fate of Chalabi?
quelques heures après, il a été retrouvé mort dans son lit, mort de
One evening after an interview, he said that he knew that the CIA was on his back.
Si vous trahissez, vous aurez des fins macabres.
A few hours later, he was found dead in his bed, dead of a heart attack. If you betray, you will have macabre endings. That's how it is. Imperialism has no friends. Imperialism uses you.
Et quand il finit de vous utiliser, il fait
And when
de
it
vous
finishes
utiliser.
using you, it does what it wants with you.
Vous comprenez
Follow my gaze.
de quoi
You
je
understand
parle.
what I'm talking about. It has always been like this.
Le troisième vice,
The third vice that I invite you to leave is incompetence.
c'est l'incompétence. Ah, je reviens encore au mot du slameur qui a marché sur
Ah, I'm coming back to the word of the Islamist who walked on my tongue.
Vous comprendrez
Incompetence.
ce qu'il s'agit. L'incompétence est un phénomène très dangereux.
You understand what I'm talking about. Incompetence is a very dangerous phenomenon that they use to destroy African society.
Reconnaissons-le. Les incompétents ont beaucoup
In our
de place
administrations, there is a lot of incompetence. Let's recognize it. Incompetents have a lot of space next to imperialism,
Les incompétents peuvent
because
vous amener
incompetence can take over the development of a country. Incompetence can lead you to doubt yourself.
Les incompétents aiment tout pour eux seuls.
Incompetents love ease. Incompetents love everything for themselves. Incompetents don't like those who are competent.
Ceux qui cherchent. Les incompétents
They don't like those who innovate,
sont
those who
dangereux.
seek. Incompetents are
Lorsque
dangerous.
vous êtes éclairé, l'incompétent ne vous aime pas.
When you are enlightened,
Lorsque vous voulez
incompetents
innover,
don't like
l'incompétent
you.
ne vous aime pas.
When you want to innovate, incompetents don't like you.
L'incompétent sait reconnaître celui qui est compétent et il va le combattre
Incompetents only recognize those who are competent,
parce qu'il a peur de
and they
celui
will
qui est
fight him
compétent.
until his last breath,
Cherchez
because
la
he is afraid of
connaissance.
those who are competent.
Cherchez la
Seek knowledge.
connaissance et travaillez.
Seek knowledge and
Travaillez
work.
dur pour être compétent.
Work hard to be competent. Ban incompetence.
Parce que, à travers les distractions
Because through distractions that we want to make us adopt,
adoptées, on devient incompétent.
we become incompetent.
Les réseaux sociaux sont les
I'll give you an example. Social networks are the places where information is published today.
s'informent à travers Internet et beaucoup de choses. Un jeune qui
People are informed through the
sur
internet.
les réseaux sociaux un article sur sa ferme,
A young man who publishes an article on his farm or an agricultural project or a scientific project may not have 1,000 views.
il n'aura pas peut-être 1000 vues.
But a young man who publishes on futility has millions of views.
Ce que moi j'appelle du n'importe quoi.
As the young slammer said, we want to waste your time on futility.
Justement,
Be aware. Let's focus on work and seek knowledge. Let's seek competence. It's good to be distracted, but we must work first before being distracted. Seek knowledge, otherwise you'll waste your time doing nothing.
Cherchez la connaissance, sinon vous perdrez du temps à ne rien faire.
Youth is the time when you must use your time wisely.
Il faut exploiter son temps à bon escient. Les impérialistes le savent.
The imperialists know this.
Ils vont multiplier tout ce qui est événement de distraction. Ils vont multiplier tout ce qui est.
That's why they multiply all events of distraction.
Pour que vous soyez des incompétents.
They multiply all events that can distract you from work so that you become incompetent. When you fall asleep, you choose the incompetent to lead the important structures. You have no choice but to fold. Let's not be incompetent. Let's seek knowledge.
Les incompétents se cachent souvent derrière des mots.
Incompetents often hide behind words. They use the terms democracy and freedom without realizing what they mean. Democracy is a state of mind as much as youth is a state of mind. Whether you're a Democrat or not, how can you impose democracy by killing millions of people? It's a dictatorship, not democracy. You can't impose it. Those who call themselves Democrats have seen scenes where people were prevented from joining assemblies. We've seen scenes where forces landed in assemblies to force deputies to take texts. We've seen more terrible scenes where people kill their demonstrators. But they call themselves Democrats, and we're called Persians. If that's democracy, I repeat, we don't want this democracy. And when you see incompetence, they don't seek to know what the real meaning of the word democracy is. They cling to the definition given to them by imperialism and start talking about democracy without really knowing the basics. That's incompetence. You have to know, look at the world to redefine democracy as we want it in Africa. Incompetence hides behind freedom. Remember, there is no individual freedom. It's a fact. Do you really think everyone is free? Freedom is collective. As long as we live in a society with rules, freedom is collective. Because if you don't respect the rules, you can't live in society. If you're free to speak as you please, the other is free to answer as he pleases. That would be disorder. If you're free to walk the streets and pass traffic lights as you please, the other is free to pass by and hit you. You understand that if individual freedom takes over, we are in a society of disorder. That's why there are rules in society. And everyone has to respect the rules. That's why we're talking about collective freedom. Some people have the right to speak about their individual freedom, but they don't care about others. I think that's also part of incompetence. Because they don't try to understand. They make up the rights given by the states to serve and do everything for themselves, neglecting the freedom of others. No, freedom is collective. Before we act, we think about the freedom of others, and we shouldn't transcend the freedom of others. So we need to have a reserve. And once we have a reserve, individual freedom doesn't exist. Freedom is collective, and we need to have this culture of collective freedom.
Cherchons donc la connaissance, lisons.
So let's seek knowledge, let's read, let's interrogate history. Don't read the history they wrote in their favor.
Cherchez la connaissance à travers plusieurs sources et vous comprendrez.
Seek knowledge through several sources, and you will understand in history who fought for Africa, how we must fight to continue this struggle of our ancestors. And I won't finish my words without making a statement about communication. Because, as I said, it's the fatal weapon of imperialism. And you young people, you must do everything to distinguish the true from the false. We will continue to dismantle the lies of imperialist media that always try to create problems in Africa. Because these media, through their mouths, can make you a king tomorrow. Through their mouths, they can make you leave your position as king and make you a poor slave tomorrow. Pay attention. I was following a program, unfortunately not long ago, in Burkina Faso, where a young journalist released a sentence that left me a little perplexed. He was talking about North Korea, and the journalist said, "But he is starving in North Korea." Has he taken care of going to North Korea to investigate to see if he is really starving? Since imperialist media have sold North Korea is more developed than many European countries. And because these media tell us that North Korea is a dictatorship, people are starving, they are poor, they have nothing, we take it here. But North Korea is a nuclear power. How did they do it? Let's pay attention to communication. We must not blindly follow these lying media that only try to divide Africa. It is logical. They fight for the interests of their people, and the interest of their people is that Africa is divided. So, young people of Burkina Faso, young people of Africa, we must unite. We must ban cowardice. We must ban incompetence. We must ban treachery and all the risks in our society. We have the opportunity to speak. We thank God for these opportunities that we have each time to speak, to raise awareness. And I invite you to spread the word, to get to work so that the Africa that we want, self-sufficient in terms of food, is a reality. So that the Africa that we want for harmonious development is a reality. Let me finish because I return to your theme. There is no peace and security without development. The two go hand in hand. If there is no development, there is no security. Because if there is no development, the youth will inevitably find themselves in the vice and there will be no security. If there is no security, there is no development. So the two must go hand in hand. Let's integrate this in our fights so that we can fight and develop. Let's go towards production. Let's produce enough. Let's transform our raw materials so that they are beneficial for our populations and in terms of exportation. I wish you a very good day of reflection on the chosen theme and also on the essential role of youth in this fight. Good luck to all. May God make sure that all those who have made the trip return home in good health and that we can meet again when we wish it by the grace of God. La patrie ou la mort. Thank you.
To that powerful message from the President Ibrahim Traore, I've decided to share this message with my brothers and sisters in the Caribbean because we as African, I told you that African, we are uniting, and also African revolution it has started, and the same way Africa revolution it has started also, I want to see Africa black people revolution it has started in some of our Caribbean country, because we all know some of our leaders in the Caribbean country, they are still puppet, they are still working from the West, and that's why I've decided to share this message with the leaders in the Caribbean. You can see what it is happening in Haiti. Haiti it is a black dominatory country, and because of how the Asian people that have been having the leaders who were sellout, the leaders who were working, the leaders who were puppets, the leaders who were being controlled by the West, it has made this fight which it is going on in Haiti to continue up to date because of their leaders. Their leaders, they were selling out the country, and that's why I've decided to share this message with my with the leaders in the Caribbean to stop becoming Western puppet, to try and work according to the will of the black people. You can see what it is happening in Jamaica. We have seen Jamaicans that have been complaining about the Chinese coming in and taking over their country, and the government it is not here. It has just been keeping silent. It is not doing anything. So because of that, we can see also the prime minister of Jamaica also, it is like he's being controlled from the West. He is a puppet, because he doesn't want to listen to what the Jamaicans they are saying. You can see the crime activity, it has already arisen in Jamaica, and because of that, Jamaicans they feel like the leaders, their leaders, they are not doing anything. And also, guys, this message I'm sending also to our African leaders, because you have seen what Ibrahim Traore has been doing in his country. You can imagine, Ibrahim Traore is at the age of 35 years. He's the oldest, is the youngest African president with the age of 35. But this man, he has achieved major things that these leaders, some of our African leaders who have stayed in power for more than 30 years, for more than 50 years, they have not achieved. And that's why Ibrahim Traore has become a symbol of Africa. So many African leaders right now, they are being influenced by Ibrahim Traore. And because of that, right now also Ibrahim Traore, life it is not in good, life it is being threatened with the West, because the Western people, the colonizers, they are fearing that Ibrahim Traore is going to influence some of the African leaders. And because of his influential, so many African leaders will now start to kick out the Western people, the colonizers in their country, and their country will be, and these people, when they are getting out of our country, because we all know these people, they always, what they are doing here in Africa, it is just taking out our minerals, it's taking out our gold, our resources. And Ibrahim Traore, he wants to cut that down, and that's why they're threatening to finish Ibrahim Traore. But I really love Ibrahim Traore, because this man, he has a knowledge, he knows what he is doing. These people, they have been trying several times to finish Ibrahim Traore, but they have not attempted. Ibrahim Traore, he has been, there was assassination for Ibrahim Traore like 4 times, but these people, they didn't manage. So this is tell you that the Western people, they are not happy to see Ibrahim Traore opening the eyes of our African leaders, our Caribbean leaders, to stop being puppet to these people. These people, they are taking out our resources. While they are taking out our resources, they are saying Africa it is poor, and these people, they are the ones who are depending in our country. And that's why Ibrahim Traore, he has come and send this message to all Caribbean and African leaders to stop being puppet, to work according to the will of the people. So kindly, guys, I don't want to talk too much. Subscribe, let's talk more on the comment section, and let's share this message so that it can reach to a lot of our Caribbean, to a lot of our African leaders. So thank you so much.